What's up, guys? Mike, MTG Jedi, take two. The first one was kind of a mess, so I decided to re-record it because I think that this guy, Alaric the Hooded, is pretty interesting and he deserves an edit-free video for you guys. So we were messing around on stream the other day, and chat voted to build this guy up and test him out. If you have not come to hang out on the Twitch, the link is down in the description of every video. Come on, hang out. We have a blast over there, answering questions, helping people out, all the fun stuff. So, Alaric the Hooded. Number one, A+ design. I think we can all agree that he looks super cool. Like tons of just little details in his outfit. We got the empty sheaths in the back. I just like, he's got the little throwing knives. Very, very cool design. Very cool design. We can all agree on that. But if you've seen any of my other champion guides, I like to break it down into 3 areas. What is his role? What are his abilities? And what kind of build do we want to do on him? How would we build him? And, we'll mix it up with the order on those 3 things. Today, we're going to start with his abilities. That's typically what I like to do. So let's jump right in. Okay, so I've gotten some feedback about the sound of the transitions, and hopefully I've adjusted that. But if you want to leave me some feedback in the comments below, let me know how the sound was there for the transition. And if it's not there yet, I'll keep working on it so that it's good for you guys, the viewers, because you guys are the most important thing to me. Thank you so much for watching. Now, when you first look at his kit, he does not seem outstanding, okay? But there's a lot more under the hood here. Get it? He's Alaric the Hooded. But in all honesty, there really is, though. So let's take a look at his abilities. His A1 has a chance to decrease the turn meter. His A2 removes random buffs, but if there are only 2, then he's just going to remove those 2. And what we found is that's the likely scenario. And he also has a 75% chance of stealing the 2 buffs instead if they have 4 or more buffs. This did not come up a lot for me, but we'll see what happens today. Third ability, attacks all enemies, 75% chance of placing decreased attack and decreased accuracy. Now, depending on the timing of this ability, it can be really good or just average, okay? Having a decreased attack on an AoE is really good because obviously it covers all the enemies. A lot of times we get single target decreased attacks, and that's great for clan boss, but for dungeons, AoE decreased attack is what we really need. And then he has increased ally attack and faction crypts, which can actually be helpful for banner lords. All right, so what about his base stats? His base HP is okay. It's not great. His base defense is not great, but his base attack is pretty solid. He is an attack-based champion. His base speed is fine, and he's got, decent stats, pretty typical for the rest. All right, so one of the hard parts about him is that he's an attack-based champion with a support-based kit. And what I've noticed is Polarium really likes making some support-based champions be attack-based, some be HP, some be defense, And this guy literally says attack-based, but you got to realize that his kit is really a support-based kit. So number 1, we want to find out if he can actually do damage. And then number 2, we also want to find out, how should we build him in order to, maximize his potential. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about his build next. We tried a couple different things, so I have a lot of good information for you. Okay, so let's hop on over to my champion screen for him. and bring him up, the build that I have. Now this is not the, this is not the first build that we tried with him, but it is sort of like the finalized build that we settled on, all right? So here, what happens a lot of times when I'm building champions, I go through and we actually built him on stream. So if this is something that you like, you can take a look on Twitch. I don't use copyrighted music on my stream, so they're all saved there. You can take a look and see, the process of us going through and building him a couple different times, a couple different ways. So I started out with the banner, and I knew we were going to need an accuracy banner, and it was pretty hysterical. We got this triple defense roll, and then I was kind of messing with chat trying to get the quad roll on the flat defense. But if I'm being 100% honest, flat defense on him is really not that bad because his defense is so low. Either way, it was fun. I was messing around on stream, and we ranked this bad boy all the way up. We do have a crit damage amulet, and it does also have another flat defense roll. That was just a coincidence. I took this amulet from somebody else, but again, pretty helpful on him. And then, in case you didn't guess it, we want defensive stats. I actually would have preferred this to be defense here instead of HP. But we have a nice blend of, an attack substat and also some defensive. And I think that this is going to be the best way to build him. All right. Now, for the rest of his gear, 99% of champions are going to use speed boots. You can get some pretty decent rare speed boots from time to time in Dragon and other places. But these ones rolled pretty well with good substats, and they work out pretty well on him. I think the best way to go on him for a lot of people is going to be an HP percentage chest. I switched this to an attack percentage chest for some arena testing. That was the last thing that we did, but we'll see what happens in the dungeons. If he's survivable with this, we may need to switch it back. But keep that in mind when you're building a champion like this for dungeons. Most of the time you want an HP percentage chest. And then I was able to do crit damage gauntlets, but you might need to do crit rate or maybe even like HP or defense, depending on how defensive you're building him. You have a lot of options. And again, I had the liberty of putting a couple of cruel pieces on here. That's going to help out with his attack stat. But these could easily be, life or something else with the appropriate substats. And frequently when I'm building champions, I end up with 2 sets, cruel and accuracy, and then 1 broken set. And for me, one of my go-tos for broken sets is relentless. I find, relentless is good on anyone, obviously, but sometimes you just have these pieces that, are sitting around for relentless not being used, and so it works out pretty well for broken sets. So we want to make sure that we have at least 30,000 HP in order to be survivable in level 20 dungeons. And you want some amount of defense on him as well. His base defense is super low, so you want to make sure that you get some kind of defense rolls on him, and you can get that from the ring too to be helpful. And again, the chest, as I mentioned. Let's see. Oh, let's take a look back here again. His attack stat is decently high here, but I didn't want to go crazy. And these 100%, 200% for crit rate and crit damage, those are really common goals that you should try to achieve when you're dealing with a champion who you want to get damage out of. If you can get more than 200%, awesome, but that is kind of like a minimum for somebody to be able to do decent damage. And then I ended up with a lot of accuracy on him because of my gear, but you really only need around 220 for level 20 dungeons, something like that. Depends on where you're using him. If you're in arena, a higher accuracy would be better, but you don't have to have as crazy accuracy gear like this one. This double accuracy roll with crit rate, attack, and speed. This is pretty ideal. I actually just got this the morning that we were testing him out on stream, so I ended up rolling it up for him. And same thing here, like this piece is crazy good. I get that. So your gear might not be as crazy, but it actually doesn't need to be. So hopefully that's helpful. Talking about his skills, when we started testing him out, we did not have books. And then after we tested him out, we added some books. And the books really do help. But what we found is you don't actually need them. It's not a need, but it is very helpful. This bumps this chance from 50% to 75%, which is actually really good. And then here's the big one. If you want to put some books, but you don't want to spend all of them, try to get this booked out right here. Both of these, this is on a 3-turn, this is on a 4-turn cooldown. So it does have the cooldown, but the debuff chance is what we really want to target here. Okay, and you'll notice too that there's a lot of damage increases here to help him do damage. All right. Also, when we started out, we did not have masteries, and he was just fine with masteries or without masteries. So I'll give you a look here of what masteries I chose. I did a pretty typical clan boss type build that I like to use in dungeons and Doom Tower as well. Coming down here to War Master, one of the keys to dealing a lot of damage to bosses. And then a pretty typical accuracy build on the support tree as well. This is how I build a lot of my champions in the game. So now is the time where we're going to get some hands-on with this guy and talk about where to use him in the game. So let's get it. All right, so we actually tested him in a lot of areas of the game. Let's go ahead and we will start in arena because that's the build that I currently have him in. And we do have some like decent pages over here. So we were doing Lydia, Molly, and then normally in my arena team, I would go Enithwi. So I just took my normal arena team and I slotted him right into it. But, Arbiter can be any speed lead. Molly can be any AoE provoke. And then Lydia can be, any defense down champion. Okay. And then Alaric, what he's going to do is he's going to do a couple cool things. Number one, he does do a decent amount of damage. I'm not going to say he's like a tier 1 nuker or anything, but we also don't have tier 1 nuker gear on him, right? We have a bunch of accuracy to land these debuffs. So in this build, we're doing attack up and provoke. We did get a resist there. We're going to do defense down and weaken. And now when he comes in here, he is going to do his decrease attack normally to try to kill as many people as possible. And the reason why that's nice is it pairs really well with their AoE provoker. They're going to take less damage. And that's a pretty cool combo. And you see there, okay, this team with 150,000 power, we were able to wipe them out in one shot. Let's see if we can find a team with a little bit higher power level. I'm wondering if that team would be a higher power level or not. We're not going to go up against a Tormund team. That's just not a good idea. Here, 191 resist lead. So we might get resisted on this, and this could showcase some important things for us that I'm looking for. All right, so let's follow that normal progression again. Increase attack and increase turn meter. AoE provoke. Rosin got the resist. Defense down and weaken. Now, I would expect this to not kill everyone. Okay, we did kill Mausoleum Mage, and we dealt a really good amount to everyone else. We'll go ahead and increase the turn meter here to get our turn quicker. And then, so you could see that his A3 is doing about, 50k, reasonably. But we'll go ahead and fear you. Hopefully you don't die. All right, you died. Oh, well. Let's put some damage here. But he did enough damage that pretty much everybody can just go finish them off with a couple little hits, right? So keep that in mind. Like, we didn't even need him to take another turn because he dealt enough damage and we had everybody provoked. I mean, that was almost a 200,000 power team. Now, obviously, I have a good list here, but this is not the list that I'm looking for. I think I refreshed one of them. Okay, here is one of the main reasons why I wanted him, to be honest, okay, is because of Skullcrown. Now, this is not a super high power level team, but Skullcrown is one of the most frequently used champions in Arena because she has that unkillable buff, right? So, following the same progression here, Alaric has the buff removal. So, if you have Arbiter or don't have Arbiter, see, now we have this Skullcrown, and sometimes Arbiter can get it with this ability of hers. But I'm just gonna let her attack so we can try to use his ability to get it. Okay. Now, a lot of times Arbiters will fail as well, so you just have to okay, see, and he's a little bit survivable because of the way we built him, which is good. So this ability right here has the chance of removing buffs, but she actually got her turn. So, but 77k there is really not bad. My point being, a lot of people build their Skullcrown slow and tanky, and Alaric can remove that buff. And I actually think that it can be a really helpful ability. Okay, so that is a very good place for him in the arena. You can build him as a secondary nuker. You can build him as a primary nuker. But if I was building him for like my earlier mid-game account, man, I'd be doing some dungeons. And I'm going to start out with the most unlikely one because I think I have the team set up still already over here. Yep. So he's the wrong affinity for this dungeon. Let me just say that right now. He's Force, and this is Spirit. And you generally don't want to be using that. But his kit is really well set up for Ice Golem. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and start this and then keep talking. If you haven't beat level 20 dungeons yet, I think he could be really great for progression. He's not going to farm campaign for you or anything, and he has a couple dungeons that he's going to do. But this team is pretty accessible. I was asking chat. Nobody really had, a good answer for me whether this team was accessible or not. But I think it is. Okay. Here we go. We got some decent damage, but we are going to get weak hits. We're really relying on the rest of our team to deal most of the damage here. But you can see he still landed the debuffs on most of the guys, even though he's the wrong affinity. And I thought that was pretty cool. I think he's a really good combination with Scylla the Drakes because she will put the stuns and she will put the heals. Mausoleum Mage was part of a 10x recently in the game, and yeah, again, you're gonna get a lot of weak hits with him, but I think that ends up being perfectly fine.
Okay guys, so I was editing this video and I just was not happy with the amount of time it took for these two dungeon runs as well as, finishing up the video. So I wanted to cut in here and sort of wrap this up a little bit quicker so you guys weren't sitting through a 6 or 7 minute Ice Golem run, and you'll see that's a long time on the Dragon run as well. But I do want to talk real quick about the two teams and the dungeons. I think that Alaric is very good in Ice Golem, despite the fact that he's the wrong affinity. His kit really lends itself to this level. First of all, he has the remove buffs on his A2. So when you get to the second wave, then Alaric can come in here and he can remove the buffs that those hounds put up. And then second of all, on the boss, he's going to use his A3 and do the decrease attack on all three, the minions and the boss, which that's kind of hard to find in your team composition, is an AoE decrease attack. A lot of the champions that you might use would be single target. Like Tyrell, for example, is good when he hits the boss, but Alaric is going to make sure that that goes on all of them, okay? And then the decreased accuracy really helps as well. If you end up getting a little bit of resistance on your team, then he can come in and help you not get those debuffs. Okay. Also, I did like the 2 revivers here in case something goes wrong, but he didn't end up dying in this run at all. He was very survivable with the gear that we have on him. And, we do have some damage on him too. So if you are using him more in a support role, you can really gear him like that so that he's defensive with high defense, high HP, and high accuracy, and then not worry about the crit rate, crit damage side of him, okay? I like this team. It was super fun, and we were messing around with this on stream. So, come on and hang out with us on Twitch. It's been an absolute blast. If you're watching this from Twitch, thank you so much for coming on over to the YouTube channel. And we had a really great time. If you take a look at his damage here, he did, we had our damage pretty spread out here, right? Ultimate Gaelic actually pretty disappointing here, but, he does have some more levels to gain to get up to the full 60. So that could be why, but I'm guessing he didn't land his HP burn very often. Alaric did 1.7, Syl 1.8, Tyrell 1.3. And as a reminder, Alaric does have War Master as his mastery, and that's going to really help you out in dungeons. So the masteries that you choose on your champions are very important, and they change a lot about how the champions work. And I personally like War Master on him because, you want to be able to use him in dungeons as well as arena. So if we take a look at, real quick before I move on, I want to say again, I know that he's the wrong affinity for this dungeon. For Ice Golem 20, I know that he's the wrong affinity, but even so, he was still able to do all of this and be reasonably consistent even with getting some weak hits. And I think that that's pretty cool. That's definitely a positive for him. Moving on to Dragon 20, we changed one spot on our team and removed Ultimate Gaelic for Frozen Banshee to get some poisons in there. But you can see that he was the second highest damage dealer in this group as well. He's really putting out a solid amount of damage, which I did not expect. I really did not expect. And in addition to that, his kit is really cool for progression and for dungeons, and it lends itself well in arena. And I think those are going to be the 3, best uses for him. Ice Golem, Dragon, and then Arena, And when you have a champion like that in the early game, it's just super awesome when you can use them in multiple areas. And your first, if you only have a couple champions leveled to 6-star to level 60, then using him as one of your first champions to level up is great, or any champion that you can use in multiple areas of the game. Once you get later on in the game, then you're going to want to specialize and say, okay, I want these specific champions for this specific reason. Okay, but Alaric being able to do those 3 very different things is a huge, huge plus in my mind. And again, he's dealing on the upper level of damage on this team. So that'll do it for this video here today, guys. I had to cut in here and shorten it up as well as clean up some things, but hopefully you guys liked this video. If you are interested, there are plenty of other champion guides. It is something I really enjoy doing. And if you would like a specific champion to be reviewed, let me know in the comments below. If you're not a subscriber yet, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Super pushing hard to get to 1,000 subs, and come hang out with us on Twitch. I've been trying to stream in the afternoon, evening hours, Eastern Standard Time. So check that out. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mike MTG Jedi, and you guys are great.